Namaskar, good morning, Sat Sri Akal, bonjour, adab. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant. And to everybody out there who's celebrating today, have a blessed Eid Mubarak to you. This channel is all about Canadian immigration news and updates. And today we will bring you another episode of Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. In today's Roundup, we will again talk about the PNP draws that have been happening, some PNP outlooks. We will briefly talk about the ongoing strike that IRCC is currently engaged in and the impact or the implications of the strike. From there on, then we will take your questions and answers. So at this point of time, I request you to hold back your questions so that once we get into that segment, we can then freely check your questions as they are flowing through. We shall now start, and starting with the quote of the week. Immigration is not just the movement of people, it's the movement of dreams, said once President Barack Obama. So true in the sense, and in relation to this, what I also want to tell you is that tomorrow, Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be doing another live stream. And in this live stream, we will be talking just about that, immigration and dreams. What happened recently is on our Facebook group, we posted, or rather there was a bit of a back and forth on some posts, and there sparked a debate about whether Canada is a deception, whether Canada is a scam in its entirety, or is it really a dream country or a dream that you can fulfill. And that is the debate we will have tomorrow. We have invited nearly, I think, 10 or 11 people from both sides of the opinions who basically will have a free flow discussion. So please do join me tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be talking about immigration just being the movement of people or immigration being movement of dreams, because it's so true. When you travel to a different country, you've changed your background, your surroundings, you left your family behind, you left your entire life behind, only and only with the intention of starting fresh, resetting everything, new people, new country, new culture, new way of doing things, and obviously so many dreams, aspirations of making a better life for yourself and of course for your children. So it's just not movement of people. It's so much more, it's so much larger than that. And I guess sometimes we underestimate what it takes, as in even the courage for so many times, for so many people to make that change, to make that movement. So kudos to everybody who does immigrate to start with, because it's not easy for sure. And for people who do actually make it, they're obviously smiling through their year to year. But for people who don't make it, they're quite depressed, quite unhappy. And so many times there are so many people who actually move back. But regardless of what that it is, immigration by itself, in the larger prospect or in the larger understanding of this word, is still a big opportunity, big dream for so many out there. It's just a matter of perspective. Some people consider it to be a boon, some people consider it to be a bane, depending on which side of the coin you might flip. Moving on, Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. That's what we are doing today. Stay up to date on the Canadian immigration news, updates on our different platforms that we have, starting with the PNP draws. On the 11th of April, BC, British Columbia, invited 158 candidates to apply through their provincial nominee stream, which is quite normal, quite regular for BC PNP, because I think they are the only province who conduct their draws so consistently, so regularly, on the dot every single week. So they would definitely be part of all our weekly roundups, because they do that. And in this particular week, what they did is they invited candidates with a minimum score of 85, and 158 were invited. 5 different streams, basically a general draw, not a category specific draw. A specific occupation specific draw, but they did hold a targeted draw as well, where they invited 50 candidates who have a background or a job offer in healthcare and childcare. Prince Edward Island also conducted the draw on the 20th of April, invited 180 candidates through the labor and express entry streams. 9 invitations were issued to the business entrepreneur stream with a score of at least 72. Mind you, if you are interested in business immigration, Prince Edward Island continues to be a great option because the scores are quite reasonable. I mean, 72 is not a bad score, to be very honest. So even if you were a college dropout, you did not complete your college degree or education, you're just a high school diploma, not very high IELTS, but you do have a reasonable net worth and are willing to invest in Prince Edward Islands, then this might be something that you wish to explore. So yeah, give it a look. And as far as the labor and express entry streams are concerned, I know a lot of people do create their profiles on Prince Edward Islands with the hope and expectation to get invited. But Prince Edward Islands has already confirmed through one of the emails exchanges that they invite people only who are currently living, working, residing in Prince Edward Islands. Obviously, it's a small province. The quotas are small, and they would rather give invitations to people who are inside the province, because the basic intent for any PNP program is for people to be wanting to, or rather to attract people who want to live in their province. So I guess that's where they get limited with the numbers that they can invite. Manitoba on the 20th of April invited 507 candidates through their 3 streams. We were quite lucky. Few of our clients did manage to get their invitations. We were quite happy for them. Congratulations. If you received your invitations through the Manitoba draw this year, this week, occupations that were targeted, 91 invitations were issued to the candidates who declared a valid express entry profile. So which basically means not everybody had an express entry profile. Only 91 out of 507 candidates had an express entry profile, which basically means that once their applications are approved and they receive their nominations, then they will get 600 points, and then they move on to the express entry draws from there on. Saskatchewan also finally, after a long time, conducted their draw. They invited 623 candidates from the Saskatchewan express entry stream, 444 from the occupations in demand stream. Obviously, they always choose certain knock codes. I will show that to you in a bit. And for both the streams, surprisingly, the score was quite low. It actually is only at 69, which tells you a few things, and we will talk about that. So these are the knock codes that were invited. Under the occupations and demands stream, they invited 444 people. Knock codes of 13201, 20012, 21203. There's so many knock codes, I will not sort of bore you by reading all of them. But the good thing here is that there are quite a lot of IT knock codes that have been picked up by Saskatchewan. Now, from what I know, there are not a lot of IT companies that are set up in Saskatchewan, but in competition with Ontario and Alberta and BC, Saskatchewan has now also upped its ante and trying to sort of attract more and more IT occupations into the province. The score of 69 actually is quite good. It's not bad at all. It's pretty cool actually, because that tells you that if you are 35 and below, you have a master's degree, you have a CLB 8 and 10 years of work experience in the same knock code, you can score 70. If you have 9 years of work experience in the same knock code, you will be 69. And therefore, that is a great opportunity if you get invited. I mean, considering how limited the options are otherwise anyways. So if you're one of those who got invited, please keep in mind that Saskatchewan is quite a strict province in terms of certain criterias, and they also take their own sweet time in the processing. They're not a fast one at all. They can take anywhere from 4 or 5 months to even 1 year for processing their nomination applications. But they're extremely strict about a couple of things. One is that your field of education and your field of work experience should be the same, unlike express entry, where it doesn't matter. And also that you should have aged your proof of funds at least 3 months before you submit your application. These are two very, very common areas where people get their applications refused. So hopefully you would not be one of them and you would actually submit a good application. There may also be a requirement for certain licensing for a few occupations. So please make sure that your I was just noticing that there's some knock codes missing under the express entry stream. So please refer to the IRCC website, because I think here we have managed to cut out some of the knock codes that should have been on this page. So yeah, don't go as per this. Please refer to the Saskatchewan website. You will know what are the knock codes that are invited under the express entry stream. A lot of other IT knock codes. I think there is superimposed page here, and that's where it's missing out. But yes, congratulations again if you received your invitation under the Saskatchewan stream. Alberta also did conduct their draw. They actually conducted 2 draws. One was on the 5th of April. Now, the reason we're talking about 5th of April today is because they released or published the information quite late. They invited a total of 53 candidates in express entry who were eligible under the designated healthcare pathway and whose CRS score was only 351 and above. And then they also invited 68 candidates under the priority sector of agriculture occupations with a job offer. Now you see how Alberta is changing its stream, and obviously the lowest score was 307. Now Alberta has lately become a popular stream because a lot of people are expecting Alberta to pick them up or invite them, because express entry is not a chance. Ontario is not a chance. Saskatchewan, the scores can be quite high, and therefore Alberta becomes, an option or an opportunity for a lot of other people. However, as you can see, Alberta also has started changing the way they conduct their draws. They have started conducting draws as per sector occupations. So they're not announcing which knock codes, they're just announcing which sector they have targeted. I would also like to show you their website, and that's where it is. And the reason why I'm showing you the website is because just to show you how many allocations they have, nomination allocations or the quotas, and how many they have completed. So Alberta Opportunity Stream, they have 3,070 allocations, and they have already issued 1,170. That is in the queue, not issued. There are 1,170 in the queue. Now, Alberta Opportunity Stream is for people who are currently in Alberta, working in Alberta, and are eligible based on certain criteria, based on your work experience, based on you having a job offer from an employer in Alberta. Then there is the Alberta Express Entry Stream. General includes in-demand occupation with relatives. Okay, so this is for people who have a parent, grandparent, sibling in Alberta, and of course your occupation is also in demand. So they have a total of 1,065 allocations. Okay, that's the nomination quota. The current applications in queue are 165. And then the Alberta Express Entry Stream Tech Pathway. Okay, so these are for about 30 or 32 knock codes that they have identified, which are considered as Alberta Tech Pathway. And if you have a job offer from an employer in Alberta and your knock code is in one of those 32 listed categories, then you can create your expression of interest and you will get invited. And as you can see, this is a very quick processing of only 1 month versus 3 and 4 months for other streams. They have only 525 allocations for this, and 140 are in the queue. And then there is a rural stream. But what I want to show you is just scrolling down. These are the draws that they have conducted. Okay, let me go back, scroll up right to show you how many are still in process. So they have a total of 9,750, that is the quota. 2,171 nominations have already been issued, and this is their volumes and processing. And yeah, this is how it is looking. I mean, not too many nomination allocations left if you would go to see how Alberta is processing. But at the same time, Alberta continues to be a very, very desirable location, desirable province, because they do invite people who would otherwise not have a chance with Alberta. Moving on from Alberta, in other news, and of course, Canadian Immigration Services, that is how that has been impacted. PSAC, Public Service Alliance of Canada, is a union of federal government employees representing more than 155,000 people. And they announced a strike effective 19th of April, which was 3 days back, because their demands and negotiations fell apart. And they've been negotiating for the last 2 years. The main criteria, or the main bone of contention, obviously, is wages. At the last count, the federal government has proposed a 9% increase over 3 years, whereas PSAC is looking for about 13% increase in their wages over a period of 3 years. So there is a disparity of about 4% where they are not coming to an agreement. But more than that, which is considered to be a situation where it seems like there's a bigger bone of contention, and that is the PSAC workers are demanding remote work options or work from home options, which I think the federal government is not in the favor of anymore. I mean, it was okay during the COVID, but anymore it's not so anymore. So the federal government has been insisting for the workers to come back to their offices and start working, and obviously the workers are not very happy to do that. So that is a bigger bone of contention, bigger reason where the demands are not being met. But let's see how this plays out. This is the largest strike in the Canadian history, with so many number of people impacted and taking part in this strike. Largest strike since the last 40 years, apparently. And obviously, IRCC is also one of the federal governments who is participating in this strike. In addition to that, ESDC, Employment and Social Development Canada, Service Canada, CRA, these are the other departments who are also participating in the strike. As far as IRCC is concerned, obviously there are going to be some huge impact. There is going to be huge impact on the processing times. And let me see if I can show you that video where, yeah, I have it here. Let's play it.
That will remain available for clients. At this time, those using IRCC services will continue to be able to make applications online or by mail. They'll be able to continue to access an online account, and there will be some access to emergency services. Services delivered by our partners as well will also continue. These include things such as visa application centers across the world and panel physician services and healthcare related services that are delivered here in Canada. Services delivered by settlement and resettlement organizations in Canada, including for government-assisted refugees, will still be offered. Settlement services across the country will continue to make sure people have the support they need before, during, and after their arrival in Canada. Government-assisted refugees will continue to receive income support payments, and we're going to continue to provide temporary accommodations for vulnerable groups, including those, for example, who've recently fled the war in Ukraine. Now, I want to focus on the services offered by our IRCC that we do expect to see an impact on. As a result of the labor disruption, we would be at a significantly reduced capacity. Clients should expect to experience serious delays with processing applications across all of our immigration streams. Further, delays could be experienced with citizenship services delivered admissions abroad. Clients with immigration-related appointments will be contacted to reschedule or cancel appointments, and we will also be forced to reschedule all citizenship events. Finally, our response times for those writing to us or contacting us by phone will be significantly impacted. The precise nature of the delays for people who are awaiting visa processing, for example, will depend on the nature of the labor disruption. We do have access to the international network of workers at IRCC who will continue to process what they can with a prioritization, of course, on emergency situations where a person's life may be threatened. I do expect that the impact will be severe, depending on the length of any work stoppage. However, the full scale of the disruption has certain unknown facts that make it difficult to assess with certainty the precise timelines or delays an applicant may face.
Right, so that's what he said. Impact will be severe. That's the first thing. So the processing times, do not expect anything happening anytime fast. It's such a bummer, right? I mean, just when the processing times are just about coming in expected timelines, and now with this strike, there are going to be huge backlogs that will build up. With every single day that they're not working, the backlogs are going to be huge. Now, he did mention that they do have access to the employees in the international network. What does that mean? International network basically means all the visa offices outside Canada. So the employees outside Canada, the subcontracted employees, so the employees who are local, not the Canadian employees, those will continue to work. Now, the thing is that they may process a part of the application. They may not be able to make final decisions. So you will also see an impact on processing on visit visa applications, study permit applications, work permit applications, PR card applications, express entry applications, non-express entry applications, all kinds of applications. You will see an impact. They will possibly be delayed. In some cases, severe delay, and in some cases, you might see that they are getting through anyways. Especially if your application is being processed by an international network, then you still may see a movement. It might still pass through. There were also concerns that if you are to submit your passport for visa stamping, for example, you are in India and you have received a passport request. Now you're sending your passport to VFS, and the VFS is sending it to the Canadian Embassy for visa stamping. That processing can also get impacted. Now, again, because the international network access is available and the employees are working, so we are hoping that the processing of passport stamping continues, but expect delays. Do not expect it to happen fast. And if at all your passport does get stuck there, which is the biggest worry and biggest concern for a lot of people, then in that case, you can raise a web form and request them to release your passport or to send your passport back, and that you will send it back later on. But apart from that, as I said, the processing is going to get delayed. Let's look at different areas where it's going to get disrupted. Processing applications, obviously, big delay there. In-person appointments or events, including citizenship ceremonies, those have been cancelled already. contacting IRCC via email, phone, or social media will be impacted. I mean, it wasn't easy earlier either, but now it's even more difficult. Consular citizenship and passport services. So passport services in Canada. So at this point of time, you will not be able to apply for a passport if you're in Canada. Canadian passport we're talking about, not any other country. Only Canadian passports you will not be able to apply, or you will be able to apply only and only if there is a serious emergency or under the humanitarian compassionate grounds. What is available? You will continue to apply online. Online applications are not hampered. Mail applications to IRCC, you can also send them paper applications. It's just that nobody will be receiving it and nobody will be processing it at this point of time. You can continue to use your online account, and you might have some access to emergency services, whereby you can request for expedited process. So emergency services basically means more or less life and death situation. These services, the settlement services, VFS services, VACs, medicals, all that will continue because those are provided by third parties. In Canada, biometric is not available. So, but if you're outside Canada, you're doing your biometrics, you can continue to do that because that's being done by VFS. That's basically where you will largely be impacted. I know there is one very big question here, and that is what's going to happen with the express entry draws. Now, the answer is I don't know. And I don't think anybody out there knows. I know that I've seen some TikTok videos and I've seen some YouTube videos where they are saying that draws will be impacted. I do not know where they're getting that information from because IRCC has not said anything about the draws. So I do not want to come out and speculate that express entry draws will not happen because I don't know, to be very honest. It may happen, may not happen. We'll have to wait and watch. I guess we will find out on Wednesday when we are expecting the next express entry draw. I don't think they need too many people to conduct an express entry draw. It's just a matter of a few buttons that have to be punched on and clicked, and they can then continue. You also do not need people on the other end to receive the applications. Yes, it will just add to the backlog, if you want to call that. But apart from that, and if at all they want to avoid any further backlog, then they may pause the express entry draws as well. But I'm hoping not, because pausing express entry draws at this point of time will have far reaching consequences, which, to be very honest, we don't want to talk about or hear of or see at this point of time. There are so many people who have been expecting the draws to come within their range, and we have just about reached there. Any pause in the draws is something which we don't want to look at this point of time. Possibility of happening, yes, it is possible. There's no question about it that they can absolutely pause the draws, and if they do it, that will primarily be only to avoid, or rather that would basically be to avoid any buildup of backlogs in express entry system, which they have worked very hard to overcome and come to a certain point. But you have to also keep in mind, IRCC does have 65% surplus staff to process the express entry applications. That's when they went on a hiring spree. So even if they do continue with the applications and continue with the express entry draws, and I'm hoping that they do, then that surplus staff, this is when then that surplus staff is going to come handy, right? I mean, this is where they can put in those extra hours and make sure that the applications are processed on time. So fingers crossed. I hope the draws continue. For other people who have been asking about the provincial level activities, well, this is a federal level strike. So the provincial level, there is no problems at this point of time. The draws will continue. As you've been seeing, the draws have been happening. 20th of April itself, Manitoba conducted a draw, Saskatchewan conducted a draw. So they are not stopping. As I said, at the provincial level, there is no problem. They're all working regular hours, and I'm hoping that there is also no processing issues with their application. So that looks to be quite fine. As far as the draw is concerned, and as far as anything else is concerned. Apart from that, fingers crossed that this strike gets over sooner than later, because if it gets delayed, or rather if it continues for a long period of time, then that's not a good sign, because this impact that it is having not only on IRCC, not only on immigration, but it's having far-reaching impact. It's CRA as well, the Canadian Revenue Agency, and this is the tax season. In 1 week's time, the tax deadline is here. Then you also have ESDC, which is Employment and Social Development of Canada. So for people who are applying LMI applications, those are also going to get delayed. And all this will have, again, as I said, far-reaching impact on different businesses, different activities, different occupations. Of course, people across the country and outside. So yeah, let's hope that this strike gets resolved at the earliest and we can go back to the normal way of life. That's what we had for today's presentation. Connect with us on social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and of course on TikTok as well. For some reason we are there, but yes, we are there. Right, that's basically what we had. Again, just to remind you, please do tune in tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tomorrow, we will be having this debate on whether Canada is a deception or whether Canada has some teeth and it really is the dream country that you should be aspiring to come to. As I said, that's 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, which would be 8 p.m. India. And we have about 10 to 12 participants who would be participating. Excuse me, it's been raining and the weather is like not really helping with this kind of sniffles. Anyways, moving on to your questions. There are a few here already. Manmohit, a big thank you to you and your team. I have finally landed in Canada. My question is, will the PR card issue process get impacted? Well, congratulations, Manmohit. Welcome to Canada. I'm glad you're finally here in Canada. Will the PR card process get impacted? Yes, of course. I mean, when we're talking about processing, all processing is impacted. PR cards are processed inside Canada, and because PR cards are processed inside Canada, you would also expect that there would be some delays to that process as well. Jennifer asks, is the government negotiating with them? Yes, I am sure the government is negotiating with them because there is a severe impact on them. As I said, the government through their third-party pay commission has offered them 9% on the wages. They are stuck at 13% because that is overcoming the inflation rate. Where they will finally settle between the two parties, I don't know. But as I said, more than the wages, there are other issues at play here as well. And one of the bigger ones here is remote work options. And that is something which we have to see who's gonna blink first. Let's see how that goes on. Minister Fraser mentioned in the second half of 2022 that processing time will return to standard of 6 months, but IRCC website shows processing time far beyond the standards. Where is the truth? What you are seeing on the IRCC processing times on their website is actually taking into account all their backlogs. The backlogs have been coming down, but how they work out the average processing time on the website is based on including the legendary backlogs as well. However, in the recent times, or the applications that have been submitted towards the second half of the year, last year 2022 onwards, we have been actually seeing quite fast processing, to be very honest. For express entry itself, I've been seeing applications getting processed in less than a month. I've seen a 22-day application approval. But anywhere from 40 to 90 days has become quite common, people to get their approvals in express entry. It's quite common right now. I'm not saying everybody is getting approved within 40 to 90 days. I'm saying a lot of applications are getting approved, and it's not only for inside Canada or inland candidates or CEC. It's also applicable to FSW candidates, outside Canada candidates. Even those have been seeing processing in 3 to 4 months flat. Same thing goes for spousal sponsorship applications. If you're inside Canada, your applications were seen to be processed quite fast. If you are outside Canada or outland spousal sponsorship, those were equally getting processed fast in a span of like 7 to 10 months, so which is pretty cool considering their average standard processing time is 12 months, and the backlogs that they have been showing is roughly 18 months to 2 years. Similarly, with the non-express entry applications, I know that because some of our clients have been getting their approvals. I mean, I've been telling them it'll take 2 years, and then thankfully they got processed within 1.5 years. And so therefore, I'm seeing processing happening fast over there as well. Caregiver applications is one where we have seen the delays are ridiculous. They are now at 3 years plus. Startup visa applications, again, delays are ridiculous. They are only increasing. They're on the 3-year plus mark. There are some other applications. AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program, another one which is moving extremely fast. We have seen so many applications getting processed 6 to 10 months flat. RNIP, Rural Northern Immigration Program, also moving quite reasonably okay. I think about 1 year processing over there. Now, study visas not moving very fast. They are taking quite some time. 2 to 4 months has become a standard, the new standard. And mind you, all these processing times that I'm telling you are all pre-strike period. So after the strike, I do not know how these are going to get impacted. Work permit applications inside Canada, so postgraduate, LMIA work permits, any applications you make online for work permit, those are exorbitantly long. 4 to 6 months is quite normal, quite common, and that's what we have been seeing. Apart from that, what else? Which other applications? Of course, visit visa. And I want to talk to you about visit visa applications. And let me just sort of touch on that. Now, I know a lot of you are applying for visit visas, and people tend to want a faster processing. Now, if you want a faster processing, apply through the new portal. We have been getting results in 10 days flat for a lot of applications from different countries. 10 days, new portal. The problem is that the new portal is giving us more refusals than approvals. I'll be very honest with you. Our team has submitted several, and I don't want to give any numbers because that would not look nice. Several visit visa applications over the last 3 months through the new portal, and the refusal rate has been extremely high, ridiculously high. There are cases where people have come to Canada before. We were only submitting a new application for a visit visa, right? I mean, they've traveled, they've returned, no problem, everything is fine. Even their applications got refused. People who had US visas, good travel history, good finances, banks, accounts, everything is good there, and yet their applications got refused. So the new portals have turned out to be a disaster in terms of application processing. I mean, disaster as in the time processing is pretty good. The decision is not so good. So my recommendation, and this is what we have started from I think about last week onwards, we have adopted this. We are not handling applications, visit visa applications on the new portal at all. We have told our clients, listen, be prepared for a longer processing time, but at least there is a possibility we might get a positive decision rather than the negative decision. Because I'll be very honest with you, with visit visa applications, there is no success formula. With study permit applications, there is no success formula. Nobody can tell you, nobody out there can tell you that they have a formula where they can get you an approval. Nobody can guarantee you an approval because there isn't one. Study permit applications and visit visa applications, these two applications are subjective in nature. Means one visa officer, the same visa officer on one day with the same set of documents can approve your application, and on the very next day the same visa officer with the same set of document can refuse your application. There is a lot of subjectivity involved. We have seen so many GCMS notes where it just doesn't make sense why they're refusing the applications. There is no clarity there. And not everybody wants to go to the court to challenge the decision because it's going to cost $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 to spend on a Canadian immigration lawyer to go and challenge the decision in the court. Plus, of course, it will take a long time as well. So these things don't add up. Not really sure how and why this happens. Of course, there's a big impact from the artificial intelligence, the Chinook system and the new Pegasus system that they've been using, whereby they triage the applications as to what is most likely to be refused, what maybe not, and what gets processed. So the ones which will definitely get approved straight away get approved very quickly. But the other two categories have a higher refusal rate. And therefore, because the new portal is showing more connection to Chinook, more connection to artificial intelligence, and therefore we are seeing more refusals there. I would recommend not to use the new portal as long as you are willing to wait for the decision through the old portal. Rest it's up to you. I can only share my experiences and tell you what you should, what you shouldn't, what you can, what you can't do. Okay, let's go back to the questions. I am doing soft landing in 2 weeks, move permanently after 1 year. How to apply for PR card? You don't have to apply for PR card. When you arrive in Canada, the border officer, when they are processing your landing process, will automatically apply for your PR card. Your PR card will be delivered to you in mail to the address that you give them. Bank of Canada site doesn't show exchange rate in which my funds are maintained. Can I attach screenshot from Receiver General of Canada site? It shows Canadian AED rate. Yes, you can, or you can also add a screenshot from a bank in your country, and that is also absolutely fine. There is no problem with that. If I take flight from Vancouver to Delhi, would this day count towards a full day spent in Canada? The flight leaves at 10 a.m. PST. Can I claim full day of credit? Yes, you can. any period of time spent in Canada will count towards your residency obligation or towards your citizenship requirement as well. So yes, there is no problem. If you are in Canada for any period of time, you will claim that credit towards your application. Eid Mubarak to you as well. Thank you so much. How much time does it take for IRCC to perform completeness check for EE application? The pre-strike processing time was roughly 20 to 35 days as been seen. It varies depending on the processing backlogs, but that is what we have been seeing, 20 to 35 days. I hope it stays that way, but let's see how it goes. I mean, only time will tell. I have 3 periods of work experience, but with a gap of 2 months between the 3 periods. Can I claim 3 years of work experience as an FSW in this case? Yes, you can, because you have 2 years, 1 work period, which is continuous, which establishes your eligibility. And the other 10 months and 10 months period, you can claim by aggregating the 3 periods. So as long as you have cleared the eligibility, which is for 1 year of continuous work experience, which you have in your 3rd period of work, which is 2 years, you can combine all these 3 and you would be able to claim 3 years of work experience. Yes, absolutely, no problem. Please give an update regarding the postgraduate work permit opt-in extension. Well, there is no update. It is still a mess. If you will opt in, then you will get approval for your work permit from the date it is approved, not from the date your actual postgraduate work permit expires. People have been receiving their extensions. People have been receiving it online as well as getting in the mail as well. A lot of people were complaining that their address on their work permit was incorrect. We haven't seen if the actual work permit have been delivered to the new address. IRCC call center informed that though the address on the work permit was being printed incorrectly, when they are mailing it, they were correcting it and they were sending it to the correct address. I am not sure how that is working out. We'll have to only wait and see. But this is the update so far. If you want proper extension, proper period of validity on your work permit, then my suggestion is that you should apply for regular extension. You will have to spend $155 versus opting in, and opting in, you don't have to pay a fee. So you are saving in $155 by opting in. I would rather you spend $155, but get a longer duration of your work permit validity. I applied for study permit from India on 30th of March. When can I expect my result? You can check for the processing times on the IRCC website. That will give you a better idea. Please advise regarding spouse kit extensions for candidates who are eligible for recent postgraduate work permit extension. Should I be filed together or separately? I've done a detailed video on this. You can check my earlier videos when we talked about the postgraduate work permit extensions. If you are eligible for a postgraduate work permit extension, you can file for the postgraduate work permit extension through the regular extension, pay a $155 fee. Along with your application, you can also file for your spouse's open work permit extension and for your children's dependent visa as applicable. But do include all the documents that you would under a normal spouse open work permit, including your pay stubs, including your employment letter. Do I need to provide proof of funds for Ontario FSW job offer stream? There is no FSW job offer stream, so I'm not sure what you are referring to here. If you are referring to an employer job offer stream, it is not FSW stream. For the employer job offer stream, there is no requirement for proof of funds, but I usually do provide because you have an employer's job offer, right? And if you have a job offer, you already have work experience inside Ontario, then you are complying with the conditions. For more details, for more requirement, for more updates, it is always better to refer to the Ontario's website. They do have a detailed checklist available on their website. Job left in September, submitted Saskatchewan document on 19th October and nomination, claimed 10 years, which got Saskatchewan nomination. Does this 19 days gap between last job and doc submit create a problem? No, I think you will be fine. You should be all right. I don't think this 19 days gap is going to create a problem. Does the work experience gotten while studying after graduating count towards PR? If this work experience was outside Canada, it was on a valid knock and paid, then yes, it will count. If it is inside Canada, it will not count. Minister Fraser mentioned in the second half, okay, we did this already. I'm waiting for my postgraduate for PCC from India to arrive. Can I submit without PCC if it doesn't come in time before my IT expires and amend with the web form when it gets here? Well, yes, you can do it, but what you will do is you will submit a letter of explanation. So let me answer this for a lot of people. If you have not received your police clearance certificate on time, you can still complete your application. You can still prepare your application, continue with it. What you will do is, instead of your police clearance, you will provide a letter of explanation explaining that you did apply for the PCC, you haven't received it, and that you will upload it through the web form once you receive it. Do add screenshots of the status of your application. Do provide proof that you have applied for PCC, and do let them know approximately by when you are expecting to receive it. It's very important that you provide this letter of explanation requesting for the extension of time for your PCC only. But if you have provided this information, you have provided the explanation, you have provided the screenshots that you have actually applied for PCC, then you may continue with your application. Okay. All right. Regarding proof of fund document, does it have to be dated within the 30 days of submission, or any post ITA should be fine? Got my proof of fund, but waiting for PCC. We recommend 30 days before submission, but yes, anytime after ITA should also work fine. If IRCC is not happy with your documents, they can always ask you for updated statements at a later date. Does the strike affect those applications processing outside Canada? For example, my visa office is New Delhi. Well, Sean Fraser has said that they have access to the international network employees, and by that, the understanding is that the employees in the visa offices outside Canada would continue to provide the services. They will continue to work. Therefore, a lot of interviews that are being scheduled outside Canada and the visa offices are continuing. With that, you would also understand that the visa office or visa processing outside Canada and the visa offices outside Canada will also continue, but it is bound to be impacted. There is no question about it. We do not know how much that impact will be or how severe that impact is. We just have to wait and see. Will study permit outside Canada impact? I just answered that question. Which month do you think all 23 ITAs of their quota will be issued and their 24 ITAs of their quota will begin to be issued? Their quotas of ITAs are not connected to the year on year. So basically what they will do is they would have already got a quota for considering how many invitations they want to issue in this year, calculating the number of people who will be approved for permanent residence this year and the next year, or the early part of next year, because it's a cyclic affair. It's an ongoing affair. It's not like it starts on one day and stops on the other day kind of a thing. In my opinion, they would be issuing about 80,000 ITAs for this year. 80,000. That's what that's what I have calculated. But only time will tell how many ITAs they will actually issue this year. The quotas for this year for immigration is about 82,880 in federal high skill, which is express entry. In addition to that, roughly 35,000 people will be added through the PNP, which are linked through express entry. So those 35,000 will also get added. So roughly you're looking at about 120,000 people. That will be the number of people who will be processed through express entry for this year. So to calculate 120,000 people, I am saying 80,000 ITAs, and 80,000 ITAs roughly. Why? Because each ITA, first of all, is not successful. They get people refused, people decline their ITAs, people reject their ITAs, applications also get refused. And also one ITA may not necessarily mean one person. One ITA could mean multiple people, and the quotas for immigration is for people, not for ITAs. Okay. Also, the numbers that I have calculated takes into account the processing, or rather the quotas also for next year, because obviously all the applications that are being processed this year or the ITAs are being issued this year are not necessarily going towards the targets for immigration this year, because those people, by the time they will submit their applications will get approved. They will arrive maybe this year, maybe next year, right? Most of them will now be arriving only next year. So the quotas calculation that you do, or the ITA calculation that you do, is taking into account both of that. Earlier also, IRCC has issued anywhere between 90,000 to 95,000 ITAs, but that was a time when their quotas for immigration was much higher. Over the last 2 years, with the TR to PR policies and with the refugee number going up, they had cut down on the express entry, federal high skilled quotas, and therefore the number of ITAs for last year was only 37,000, 38,000 ITAs issued. For this year, as I said, I expect 80,000. Let's see how that plays out. Can one use a reference letter dated June 2022 for a PRA application? Yes, you can, as long as the date of issue was after you having completed the period of work for which you are claiming points. You can use that, no problem. My PCC was done recently on old passport, but due to new PGWB policy, I applied for passport renewal. So is my PCC going to be valid even after the new passport? So I do not know why there is this confusion. The police clearance validity or the police clearance issuance has got nothing to do with your passport validity or your passport number. Yes, your PCC does indicate your passport number, but your new passport also in most cases indicates your old passport number. So you don't have to worry about your PCC remains valid even if you have changed your passports, because you have extended your passport or if you have renewed your passport, there is no problem with that. My CEC application was submitted by a consultant through his company email. Is it possible if I could somehow link the application to my own email to profile? Well, you can get an access to the application tracker if that's all you want to do. So there is a PR application tracker. You can log into it, you can create your account, and then you can track your application. If you want to get access to your application itself, then you will have to cancel your representation completely, and then only then you will be able to link the application to your profile. I'm on ICT closed work permit. I did forced resignation without onboarding in Canada. If I get another LMI job offer, will my wife's existing spouse work permit be invalid? No, your wife's work permit continues to be valid regardless of your status. So there's no problem. Your wife can continue working. Her status will continue to be valid until the validity mentioned on a work permit. How to apply as a truck driver in Canada as a fresher? Well, you can come to Canada on a visit visa. You can then apply for a driving license as a truck driver. Once you get a truck driver driving license, you can then apply for jobs within the Canadian logistics industry. That is one way of doing it. Once I get COPR and I enter Canada for a week, then travel outside, is there going to be any problem? Absolutely not. The only problem you might face is when you return back to Canada, because you may not have a PR card. PR cards will not be issued in a week's time. So as long as you come to Canada via the land border from the US, then you can drive through in a private car with your COPR, and that's not a problem. My mother had applied for HCCP program and applied as dependent under her program. Now I want to apply for student visa separately. Can I apply for that simultaneously? Yes, you can. Please express dual intent, because you already have a PR application in progress. Now you want to apply for study visa. So make sure you indicate and express dual intent. Do we need to inform IRCC regarding physical address change after getting PPR? Will it affect my profile if we don't intimate IRCC on it? Well, until you arrive in Canada, you are required to inform IRCC about any change of addresses. So my recommendation is, yes, you should. I use my uncle for eligibility points. I have an ITA. Now I need to prove my relationship. I don't have the birth certificate of my mom nor my uncle. What other documents can I use? Well, you will have to establish the proof of relationship. And if you can't do that, then it will become a problem. So if you do not have a birth certificate, then provide your passport copies if your parents' names are mentioned, or their parents' names are mentioned on it. That is one way of doing it. It's been 4 months now. I applied for closed work permit. Is it normal processing time? Yes, 5 to 6 months is quite common. Do I need to provide proof of funds? Again, post adding wife to PR application, post COPR. You don't have to provide it upfront. You can provide it if IRCC asks you for it. I'm a dependent to my spouse and she's on work permit. Can I go to border for flagpole in order to claim my open work permit? CBSA entertaining candidates like me at present, even there is PSAC strike. Well, good question. You're asking me about flagpoling. So you are a dependent of your spouse who is on a work permit. Can you go to the border for flagpoling? Technically, you can. Lately, we have been hearing from some clients who did go to the border and they were returned back saying there is a strike. Then we also heard from some other clients who actually did manage to clear through. They were allowed to flagpole. They were issued work permits. So it's your decision. You can basically go down the border. If you are in Toronto, take a trip down to Niagara. It's a nice place anyways. And if you're in Vancouver, then it's not a problem at all. Just drive down to the Peace Arch Bridge and you should be able to apply for it. it's best to contact CBSA at that port of entry and check with them if they're still processing flagpoling or not. Okay, questions continue. If I am not able to answer your question, please post them in the comments below so that I can come back and take a look at it later on. I'm just going to do a couple of more questions before I leave. I'm doing soft landing and move permanently. I think I already answered that question. Does it make any difference time-wise if I apply for spousal work permit from inside or outside Canada? Well, yes, it does make. Inside spousal sponsorship application for PR was being processed quite fast before the strike. It was taking only about, 5 to 6 months, in 7 months in some cases. Outside Canada is slightly longer. So yeah, it does have an impact on the processing time. I received ITA last month. When I able to receive approval? Well, it all depends. When do you submit your application? You received your ITA, it didn't say when you submitted your application. The average processing time as of right now is 6 months. So hopefully within that period of time. I'm claiming points for 4 months work experience paid in cash and have this mentioned on my reference letter and pay slips, but I don't have an ITR for that period. Is this an issue? What can I do about it? ITR is not a mandatory document, especially when it comes with the cash salary. So you don't really have to worry about your income tax return. As long as you provide your employment reference letters, pay stubs, a cash salary certificate, then you should be fine with that case. कुबेर जी, आपके चरण कमलों में सादर प्रणाम। अगर पति या पत्नी में से कोई एक पढ़ाई कर रहा हो तो दूसरा कितने दिन बाद ओपन वर्क परमिट के लिए आवेदन कर सकता है? प्रदीप राठी जी, ऐसा कोई टाइम लिमिट का कंडीशन नहीं है। जब भी इन पति या पत्नी जो कनाडा आ जाते हैं और अपनी पढ़ाई शुरू कर देते हैं, उसके बाद उनके जो स्पाउस हैं जो रह गए उनके फॉरेन कंट्री में, तो वो कभी भी उस टाइम पे अपना ओपन वर्क परमिट के लिए एप्लीकेशन डाल सकते हैं। इसमें कोई इश्यू नहीं है। देयर इज नो टाइम लिमिट और कंडीशन फॉर सच केसेस। व्हाट ही इज आस्किंग इज इफ यू हैव अ स्पाउस हु इज करंटली स्टडीइंग इन कनाडा, then the spouse outside Canada, when can they apply for work permit? Well, in such situations, there is no condition, there is no requirement for any time to be spent in Canada studying before you can apply for your work permit. So when your spouse does arrive in Canada and starts studying, that is a requirement. The spouse has to start studying. Then the other spouse outside Canada can, at that point of time, apply for the open work permit. There is no other condition which basically restricts them from applying for the work permit. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining in today. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to sort of discuss your application, your queries, your concerns one-on-one, then this is the link. By all means, do book an appointment. I'll be happy to talk to you about your application. Follow us on Instagram if you wish to. And of course, as I said, subscribe to the channel. It's been nice talking to you once again and answering all your questions. Again, we will do it as often as we can. And of course, don't forget to tune in tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, when we have this debate whether Canada is a scam or whether Canada really is the dream and is it living up to its claim. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.